You are standing in a room you walked into 30 seconds ago. You came here for a specific reason. You have a thought clearly, a complete intention with a purpose attached to it. And now it is gone. Not hazy, not half-remembered. Completely absent. You scan the room for a cue. The room offers nothing. So, you walk back to where you started, and somewhere in the return trip, the thought comes back, as if it was sitting there the whole time, waiting for you to find the right location. This happens to you. It happens to every person alive. And the explanation everyone reaches for is the same: distraction, aging, a busy mind doing too much, a failure of attention. The story we tell ourselves is that forgetting is weakness, that a sharper, better organized version of you would not have lost it, that the thought disappeared because something went wrong. But the evidence keeps telling a different story, a more precise one, a more uncomfortable one. In 2011, cognitive psychologist Gabriel Redvansky at the University of Notre Dame published a study in the Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology that gave a name to what you just experienced. His team ran experiments in both real rooms and virtual environments. Participants moved through spaces carrying objects and completing tasks. The result was exact and repeatable. Crossing a doorway caused significantly more forgetting than traveling the same distance within a single room. The size of the room did not matter. The distance walked did not matter. Only the transition mattered. Redvansky called it the event boundary effect. The brain does not record experience as a continuous stream. It segments life into episodes, discrete chunks of context and activity, and when you cross a physical threshold between environments, the brain closes the current episode and files it. The thought you were holding gets compressed into storage, and stored memory is not the same as active memory. Retrieving it takes effort, and sometimes it requires the original context, which is exactly why returning to the room where the thought originated so often brings it back. You did not remember. You stepped back inside the episode where it was still running. The brain was not failing you. It was organizing your life the way it has organized experience for hundreds of thousands of years. The problem is that what counts as efficient architecture for navigating ancient landscapes is a design flaw dressed as a feature when what you needed was to remember why you came into the kitchen, but the event boundary is only part of it. Because most forgotten thoughts never involve a doorway. It all died in 1956. Cognitive psychologist George Miller published one of the most cited papers in the history of science, the magical number 7, plus or minus 2, in Psychological Review. Working memory, the mental workspace where thoughts you are currently using live, can hold approximately 7 items at once, give or take 2. Not 7 memories stored deep in the brain. 7 things actively maintained in the prefrontal cortex, like plates spinning on poles, kept aloft only by continuous attention, continuously burning energy, constantly vulnerable. Later research revised the number down. Nelson Cowan at the University of Missouri, in 2001, concluded that the real limit is closer to 4 chunks when other cognitive supports are removed. For active items, add a 5th and something falls. Let attention waver for a second and something falls. A sound, a notification, someone saying your name across the room. And the thought that was spinning a moment ago is gone because the prefrontal cortex never handed it off to long-term memory. It was never stored anywhere. It was only held. And holding is not the same as keeping. In 2010, psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert at Harvard published a study in Science that added the final piece. Using a smartphone application that interrupted 250 participants at random intervals throughout the day, they recorded what people were thinking about and whether they were focused on what they were doing. The finding was blunt. People spent 47% of their waking hours with their minds somewhere other than what they were actually doing. Nearly half of conscious life. The brain's default condition, what it does the moment it is not actively forced to concentrate, is to wander, to rehearse future conversations, to replay past events, to generate hypotheticals. The mind is almost never fully present. It is almost always partly somewhere else, which means that any thought you are not aggressively sustaining is a thought competing against the brain's constant gravitational pull towards somewhere other than here. Here is the part nobody talks about. The harder you try to recover a thought you just lost, the less likely you are to find it. The tip of the tongue state, that maddening sensation of knowing you know something and being unable to reach it, has been studied since the 1960s. The mechanism is consistent. When retrieval fails, the brain generates a competing word or concept that resembles the target and activates in its place an interloper. And the more intensely you strain toward the original thought, the more the interloper consolidates, narrowing the path back. Research by James Reason and Don Lucas published in 1980 found that the most reliable strategy for recovering a blocked thought is the opposite of effort. Release attention. Let the mind drift. Stop pushing. The thought then surfaces on its own, not because something repaired itself, but because you stopped reinforcing the wrong candidate with every attempt to force the right one. Now think about what was actually happening in that kitchen. Your brain closed the episode at the doorway. Your working memory was already operating near its limit for items. Your default mode network was pulling attention away from the present the moment your focus slipped. And the harder you tried to remember, the more you activated everything except the original thought. None of this is dysfunction. It is the predictable output of a system built for a world that no longer exists, evolved for slow timescales, physical navigation, and a handful of concurrent intentions. Now, running in a world of constant context switching, ambient noise, and the daily requirement to hold dozens of unrelated things active simultaneously, the question is not why you forget what you just thought. The question is why. You feel guilty every time you do, and what it says about you that you keep expecting a brain shaped by 200,000 years of savannah life to perform flawlessly in the particular conditions of a Tuesday afternoon.